We continue our series on the different approaches to home education. Our topic for discussion is the classical approach to education. Joining me in the lounge is Jennifer Hanekom. She started a home education journey 7 years ago when they moved to South Africa from America. She has a passion for the classical education approach and has started a classical conversations group in Cape Town. This has been running for 5 years now. Jennifer, please tell us what classical education is and how it is different from the school approach that most of us are familiar with.
Sure. The school approach would be what we are all most familiar with, being traditionally educated, most of us ourselves, from the school system, and that would be the modern education system. The classical model is nothing new. It's something that's been time tested over many centuries, but it's sort of seeing a resurgence. And what it is it's a method of education. The classical model of learning basically follows the trivium, and the trivium follows 3 phases of learning. The first being the grammar stage. The grammar stage is a stage where the kids take in a lot of information, and it's from here that they're able to, we talk often about how kids are able to soak in information like they're sponges, but we want to make sure that they're soaking in really good information. And so in that grammar stage, it's a lot of the basics of many different subjects. The next phase that they enter into is the dialectic stage. People also call this the PERT stage. This is where the kids often start to ask why, and they really want to understand the connection. So now they've got all this information. They know maybe about wars that took place, but now they want to know, why did these wars take place? What led up to it? And so there's a lot of questions, and it's a different phase of learning. And so the classical model really addresses that and how the education, how it's approached. The last phase of learning is the rhetoric stage. This is really a phase of self-expression. It's a time when the students want to express themselves, but so often we ask students to express themselves, and yet they, especially when they're very young, they don't have a lot of information and knowledge to pull from, or to really make their self-expression a rich experience. And so the rhetoric stage deals with speaking and writing fluently in a way that allows the students to really express themselves well. That is sort of an overview of the classical model.
So what subjects or topics do you focus on? You mentioned in the grammar stage you want to give them a good foundation. So what do you teach them?
Sure. Well, the grammar stage, we cover a lot of events that take place in history. We cover locations all over the world for geography. When you talk about wars that took place in different countries, if the students don't actually know where those countries are located, it's sort of this very vague thing that happens. And so we feel that geography is very important, that the children should have a knowledge of the world in which they're growing up in. So besides geography and history, there's science. We do Latin, English grammar, math, and these are all obviously equally important.
Are there children who are more suited to this approach and others who would not benefit from the classical approach?
One thing that we found, because we do have a lot of families that follow this classical approach, and we get together one day a week to do it in community. And so we're dealing with lots of different families and lots of different children. And I think because what the classical model does is it really provides a framework for education. It doesn't tell you exactly how to do every single minute of your day. It's not getting right in there and dictating how you teach your children. And so the freedom that exists within the classical model's framework really provides the ability for parents to teach their children in a way that suits the child's learning style. So if you have an audio learner, a visual learner, kinesthetic learner, you can take that information. If it's a geography lesson, for example, and you've got a visual learner, you can pore over maps and really look at locations. An audio learner, you would also maybe read different books or stories about the geography that you're studying. But you can also draw big maps on your driveway and let the children hop from country to country. So how you get the information, how the child really grasps the information is up to the parents. And so what I love about the classical model really is the freedom of a dedicated parent to teach their child in exactly the way that suits them. So we find that it really can be used for any family. But I guess the most important thing really is that the parent believes in the model, that the parents can see the freedom that they do have to be able to do what's best for their family.
Let's say my child is 11 years old and has been in a public school. Can I easily then start with a classical education, or is it best if I start right at the grammar stage and then progress through?
Sure, we actually get this question a lot. One of the ways, so it's building up, obviously. When we start at the grammar stage, we are specifically looking at information that we know we're going to be studying later on in our curriculum. However, if a student comes and joins into the classical model, into a curriculum halfway through, this does not mean that they didn't learn anything leading up till the time that they're 11. They were still learning something. So whether it was, even if they were struggling in school and they were pulled out because it just wasn't working, whatever the reason is, they were still learning. They were learning in life. They were being read to, whether it was by parents or they were watching things on TV. Whatever learning that took place, they're bringing that with them. And so they do have pegs that they come into that second stage, that dialectic stage with. And so they're not coming empty-handed. They might not be coming with the exact pieces of information that will help them the best for what the curriculum holds, but they still come with something to bring to the table. And so part of that stage of the trivium really has to do with the students discussing what they're learning. And so they just bring a different perspective, and that's always valued. It's really nice for the students to get to sit together and discuss ideas and to hear what the other ones have to say. So yes, it actually is possible to join in the middle of your homeschool journey. You don't have to start there.
It sounds like the classical education is focused on critical thinking and cooperative thinking, debate. And then you mentioned stories. So I figure that you read lots of books.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, we do want our children to be, I think there's a very big emphasis in the classical model of education in helping the students learn how to think, not what to think. They can draw their own conclusions, but we want them to learn how to learn and how to think. That there's actually, there are steps that they can take. They can learn how to be good thinkers. They can learn how to be critical thinkers. And they can learn how to learn anything if they have those tools at hand. But one of the richest parts of our own homeschool journey just as a family is our reading. So that what the classical model has provided, as I'm teaching my children the critical thinking that they need and how to learn anything, it's also to really delve into the richness of this subject matter. So again, if we're studying something in history, the 100-Year War, we might read books that have to do on the plague and Black Death and the 100-Year War and King Charles VII, different things that just grab their attention and make that history bit that they're learning about really come to life and be exciting. I wouldn't want to homeschool without reading. It's just one of the best parts of our journey.
Where do parents obtain the resources and material? Is there like a guidebook?
There are like, I suppose with any model of education, there are so many options that are out there. But one of the best resources, two of the books that I really have helped me a lot. The one is The Well-Trained Mind by Susan Wise Bauer, and the other is The Core by Lee Bortons. And those two books, they aren't curriculum per se, but they are outlines. They go into much more detail on the classical model, and they give really practical help, including curriculum choices and where to find what options that they might be looking for. And we're finding more and more resources that are available on Loot or Take-A-Lot that you can at least get started with. But the classical curriculum that we use is Classical Conversations, and that's a curriculum that we import from overseas. But we are working to get it printed here in South Africa. As more people are interested in the classical, the more resources that we can provide here in South Africa, where we don't have to pay shipping and customs. I think most homeschoolers are familiar with that. It is one of the bane of our existence, but we hope to solve that with local printing. So we'll see how that comes along.
Oh, I'm holding thumbs for that one.
Me too.
One last question. Do you measure your child's progress? Do you write regular tests or assessments, do projects? How does that work?
We don't write regular tests and assessments. I would say it's up to each family. So the resources are available. If a family wants to do assessments and they want to do tests, they can find those resources. They are available. But our curriculum actually doesn't ask for them. I think the train of thought is that as parents, as we're teaching our kids, we know what they're retaining and what they're learning, and we know where they're struggling. And so I have a very good idea of where my kids are at in each subject. And also because the classical model approaches the subject matter a bit differently, because we're giving the children a lot of information, they don't have a vast understanding at the age of 7 of, say, the digestive system. But at 7, they can easily know that it's the mouth, esophagus, small intestines, large intestines. But as far as what each of those parts does, the role it plays, an in-depth idea, a great understanding, that actually comes later. So it's difficult. We're learning different than the traditional model of education. So the tests that are out there also don't quite follow our the chronology of the way we're learning. And so we're following the model, and we're following the method. And I think what we rely on a lot is that it's time tested. That even since this resurgence has come, we aren't the forerunners. This is about 20-25 years of this particular curriculum that we're using. And so the research that's come back, the students are doing very, very well. It has come together with great results. And so what we're finding for SAT scores and ACT scores, and the students that are entering university and being accepted to universities worldwide, they're entering at a really high level. And it's not because they were tested and tested and tested at 7, 8, 9. It's because they learned how to learn, and they learned how to think. And they also learn how to write really well. I think that's important. It's there's a skill to writing, and there's a skill to learning how to, whether you're writing an essay, an informative essay, or a persuasive essay, inventive writing. These all require different skills, and I think it's something that our students learn, and it's showing on the college entrance exams when the essays they have to write. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the proof that other people have found, the people who have trailblazed for us, because it gives us a lot of excitement and encouragement on this journey. It's not always easy, whatever model of education we've chosen. We all want what's best for our kids. And so I think we just sort of rest in that and just do our best every day. So
if there are parents who would want to join your classical conversations, you are in the Cape Town area, could they contact you? Is there a place where they can go for inquiries?
Yeah, they can contact me. They can email me at jhanekom@classicalconversations.com. I'm actually the support representative for South Africa, and so I just help the different communities that are here. We aren't, what I think it's so important for me to let people know is that this didn't start because somebody started some sort of business. It actually started because we're homeschooling families, and we were a group of families that really wanted to follow the classical model of education. And we wanted to do it in community. We wanted support. We wanted to be able to come together and encourage each other each week to really continue to do this job to a high standard. And so I think the support was important. There are now communities as of now in Pretoria and in Cape Town, in George, Somerset West, Stellenbosch. So it's growing, and there's Potchefstroom and Klerksdorp. So there's actually communities in other parts of South Africa, not just Cape Town. Also, Port Elizabeth is a new community.
Can you just repeat your email address?
Sure, it's jhanekom@classicalconversations.com.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you spending your time and sharing your knowledge with us. It was great talking to you.